Synchro Summon Shooting Quasar Dragon, the ultimate 5D boss monster. Oh yeah, we gotta love to see it. Hello and welcome to the video. Today I want to make a tournament recap from Drama Llama Classic 7, which was a firewater tournament hosted by Format Library. And this tournament had some really amazing results in the top cut decks that I did not expect at all. So let's look into the top cut decks, each deck one by one. First of all, we start with third place, Siljar's Ruin, with Zombie. I have never seen Zombie in Firewater format before, and he was the first one who brought zombies to a Firewater tournament and was actually pretty successful with it. So super interesting list, still playing the Chaos, which is one of the best cards in Edison format. However, in this format we have Effect Veiler, Finished Chain and Solemn Warning, so a couple of cards that can deal with the Chaos. But Chaos still working pretty fine in this deck. And then for the actually zombie engine we have triple Goblin Zombie, triple Mizuki, double Brag Splatter Zombie and one Goblin Zombie, which can dump the Malicious to enable lots of synchro summons with the Malicious and the Black Splatter Zombie. Yeah, Malicious returned back to free with the September 2013 ban list, which is a huge buff for this deck, because now this deck can make 2 level 8 synchros per game and not just only one with the triple Malicious. So we can make Stardust Dragon and Ogre Void Dragon for double effect negation, or Ogre Void Dragon and then Crimson Blader. Even though Black Splatter Zombie returned also back to free, maybe 2 are sufficient because we can revive this card with the Zombie Master, or the Mizuki, or the Book of Life. And we have lots of different ways to access the Black Splatter Zombie, like the Dark Grepher, Armageddonite, Foolish Burial, or Roadar, which can search any of those warriors. And then we have one Blackring Sephiroth the Elite, which can bounce our own Call of the Haunted, or the Finished Chain. And then one Dark Arm Dragon, and we can kinda cheat the Dark Arm Dragon with the Lavalva Chain, stacking it on top, and then drawing it with the Absolute Goblin. Yeah, we have triple Absolute Goblin and one Allure as consistency cards, and for resource recovery, one Burial from a different dimension. And then one Book of Life as extender in addition to the free call, which can be really strong against Dark World, Dragon Ruler, Fire King and Mermaid, because we can banish their graveyard resources from them. And then some staple traps like Torrential, Warning, Bottomless. Overall pretty interesting main deck. Also this one looks pretty refined, so we have a clean 40 card list with triple Absolute Goblin. And then for the extra deck we have lots of level 8 synchros, I think 5 different ones in total. Stardust Dragon, Ogre Void Dragon, Colossal Fighter, Crimson Blader and Dark End Dragon. And Crimson Blader is one of the newer Synchro 8s released in Cosmo Blazer, I think, and this card is really powerful against Dragon Ruler and Mermaid. So even though this deck is power crept by a lot of the Sexal format decks, the deck can still keep up with them with the new additions to the Synchro Toolbox and the triple Malicious. Yeah, and then for the level 6 Synchros we have Vulcan the Divine, also a new level 6 Synchro, which is an amazing option because we can bounce our own Call of the Haunted and the Finished Chain. And then we have one HDS Psyche mode and Revive King Hades. Maybe we could play 2 Vulcan the Divine and cut this one, but having 3 different level 6 synchro options could be beneficial for certain game states. And then for the extra deck we have lots of rank 4s like double Lavalva Chain, Silent Honor Arc, Exciton Dweller and K-Beetle. These are pretty much staples for a deck that can make rank 4s and especially has access to dark level 4s. And then we have the M7 that we can make with the Chaos or Malicious or the level 6 synchros. And this one could also add back the Dark Arm Dragon from the graveyard, which seems really powerful, or we could just bounce the extra deck monsters from the opponent with the M7. And then for the side deck, we have 3 hand traps and 1 Dark Hole against the more combo oriented decks in the format. And then we have triple MST against Spellbooks, Fire Fist, and also against the Floodgates that the decks might side against Zombie. And then one Anti-Spell Fragrance, which is really interesting because I think I have never seen Anti-Spell Fragrance before in Firewater format. But playing this card makes actually perfectly sense because it seems solid against Fire Fist and Spellbook, and we can protect it against MSC from the opponent with the Ogre Void Dragon or the Stardust Dragon. One DNA Surgery against Spellbooks and Bujin, and we can also protect this one. Then double Debunk against the Dragon Ruler, Mermaid, Fire King and Dark World. And then double Full House. Interesting decision to play Full House, because I think Dust Tornado seems to be a superior choice. And Full House in general is a really high risk, high reward card, so you could win the game on the spot, but you could also lose because you bricked on Full House and you can't resolve this card because the opponent decided to play around the Full House. However, it worked out for Siljar's, and maybe this could be the solution for zombies because we have the Call and the Finished Chain. And then double Vanity's Emptiness also against combo decks, and we can protect the Emptiness with the K-Beetle. So really strong Floodgate post side with the K-Beetle. Yeah, super interesting list. I hope more people take inspiration from this and wanna try out Zombie in Firewater format. And maybe this deck has even more potential and we might see this as a new meta deck in Firewater format in the future. Now let's go to the third place, the Fire King deck from Justice Punch. Overall, Justice Punch is a really solid player, and if he has the time to play in one of those tournaments, most of the times he is making it into the top cut. And for this tournament, he made it in the top cut again, top 4 with the Fire Kings. Overall, pretty much standard Fire King lineup. Again, the free fire dog, but he probably cut some monsters, I think the card troopers. Yeah, so he cut the card troopers from the previous list and then made some new additions to get the deck from a 41 to a clean 40 card deck. And I think he added the third Forbidden Lands. Interesting decision, but I can respect it because maybe you don't want to see that many monsters. Otherwise you can brick on too many normal summons in Fire King. Therefore going down to 40 and cutting the card troopers makes sense here. And then we decided to cut the one breakthrough skill and add one Traptrix Trap Nightmare even without a Traptrix Melio in the main deck. Interesting decision, but also kinda reasonable because without the card trooper in the main deck the breakthrough skill becomes less valuable. I'm not exactly sure if this is just experimental or if Justice Punch is deciding to keep this 1-1 split. It could also have some benefits to have a 1-1 split. For example, it's much harder for the opponent to figure out which trap is currently in the back row if we have two traps with different names, and it's much harder for the opponent to play around the correct trap. And then for the extra deck, most of the stuff seems standard with the exception of the one Photon Papillorative. Pretty interesting, and with interesting, I mean, I don't think this card is that good in Firewater format. Bruh. However, Justice Punch summoned the Photon Papillorative 2 times in a tournament, so it worked out pretty well. Weird choice, but it kinda paid off, okay. And then for the side deck we have 6 hand traps, okay, and no Maxi. No Maxi, interesting decision. But maybe he just wants to stop the opponent completely instead of getting random draws from the special summons that the opponent performs under Maxi, which is also kind of fair. Yeah, still playing the Flying Sea probably as a preferred option over Maxi because this one has such a nice synergy with the Fire Dogs. And then one Ryo against Spellbooks and other decks that search, one Compulse, double DNA against graveyard oriented strategies, and can also shut down hand traps from the opponent such as the Diddy Crow. Then one Deep Dark Trap Pull, also with Ultimate Melio, interesting choice. Same with the second Traptrix Trap Nightmare with Ultimate Melio. And then we see still the double Fairy Wind over Dust Tornado. I think this one is a personal attack choice of Justice Punch over Dust Tornado. It has some applications where Fairy Wind is clearly better, has some applications where Fairy Wind is clearly worse. However, still playing the Fairy Wind in the Fire King deck paid off for him. And then one 7 Tools of the Bandit. We gotta love to see it because 7 Tools of the Bandit is such a nice card in this format. It can make sure that our own offensive plays go through. We can just negate any trap that might stop us. This card is super old, printed in Metal Raiders 2002, but despite being such an old card, I think it's still pretty much viable in Firewater format, and I would like to see more people picking up the 7 Tools of the Bandit in this format. Now we go to our second place, Kesha with Geargia. I think almost everyone is playing this Geargia monster lineup and free Geargia gear, which is kinda the best card of the deck. And then Kesha made a really interesting decision to main deck both Dimensional Fissure and the Macrocosmos, which can steal games on the spot against half of the matchups, but it can also be completely dead in the other half of the matchups. Overall, I think Kesha made a meta game call and predicted lots of Fire Kings, lots of Dark World, maybe some Mermail, some Bujin, and those cards are really solid against those decks. And Kesha was pretty successful with the main deck Floodgates. And then we have one Dark Hole, triple MST, triple Upset Goblin. Those are pretty much staples, nothing extraordinary. And then for the traps, we have one Blackhorn of Heaven in the main deck. Okay. Then one Bottomless Trap Hole, one Solemn Warning, Compulse, those are pretty much standard. And then we have double Call of the Haunted. Even though this might conflict with the Macrocosmos, it's still a pretty strong card in Geargia. And I like this card because it can allow the deck to play around Bear and attaching marksman from the opponent. Then we have some battle traps like double Dimensional Prison and one Mirror Force. Yeah, Dimensional Prison, really strong if we expect more Fire King in the format. And then 2 Dust Tornado, not free compared to the Celsius list, who main deck 3 Dust Tornado. And I think Dust Tornado is also one of those cards that should see more popularity in Firewater format. Because it's just overall really solid and can be an interruption against the engine, or it can hit the non-engine of the opponent depending what we want to hit. Extra deck, yeah, I think pretty much standard, nothing unusual. And then for the side deck, playing 2 DD Crow and 2 Maxi. Okay, so also playing a second Crow over the third Maxi against decks like Fire King and Dark World, where the Crow is obviously more impactful than additional Maxi. Fair. One Mind Control, one Black Horn of Heaven, double DNA Surgery, double Debunk, then the third Dust Tornado, and then 2 Ghost Machi. Okay, this is pretty interesting because I don't think this card is that good in the format, except if we play against Dragon Ruler specifically. So maybe Kesha was afraid against the Dragon Ruler and decided to play Ghost Match specifically for the Dragon Ruler matchup. I'm not completely sure how often Kesha sided in the Ghost Match, so maybe this card could be a different card in the side deck, but it worked out for this tournament. Then 1 Soul Drain as the third Graveyard Hate Floodgate, and then 1 Trapstun. And by the way, I just recognized there is no Torrential in the main deck, instead we play 1 Needle Sealing. Pretty interesting. I don't think this is a bad decision, it's just really spicy, while the majority of the people would take the much more common approach of just main decking Torrential. This card could be sometimes even better than Torrential because it can destroy all monsters from the opponent and keep the set Geargia armor alive. And this is what we want to do in our Geargia deck, clear the board of the opponent and keep our own set armor on the field. So interesting to see the Needle Sealing instead of Torrential in the main deck. Not sure if more people start to pick up on this tech choice and replace the Torrential with the Needle Sealing. I guess we have to wait and see more tournaments in the future. And now let's go to the first place, to my own gadget lists. Yes, I won this tournament with Gadgets, and I think Gadgets is still one of the most solid decks in this format. Because Gadget is overall really consistent, despite bricking sometimes, I was still able to win those games because all the deck needs is just seeing 1 Gadget, and any amount of either extenders or non-engine in a deck can play either offensively or defensively and outgrind the opponent with the rank 4 toolbox options and the gadgets that search each other every single turn. Therefore we play 9 gadgets to have as much gas as possible, and then we play 3 Kage, 3 Tin Goldfish and 1 Redox to summon more level 4 bodies and make those rank 4 XYZs easier. And if we don't open any gadget as a normal summon, we have 2 Trapex Vermilio, which is probably the best normal summon for this deck that isn't a gadget, because this one can search out the Bottomless or the Trapex Trap Hole Nightmare. And then we have Interruption against the opponent, we can slow down the opponent a bit, and then in the next turn we hopefully can draw into a gadget. Also this deck is built around Chain Summoning, therefore we play 3 Chain Summoning and then 1 Machina Gear Frame and 1 Machina Fortress, because we can search out this one with the Gear Giant X. And then normal summon the Machina Gear Frame as third normal summon, search the Machina Fortress and then go for game if we can resolve the Chain Summoning combo. Yeah, then triple MST, double Forbidden Lands, 1 Mind Control, Staples, 1 Bottomless, Torrential, Warning, also Staples. And then I decided to play a 1-1 split between Mirror Force and Dimensional Prison, because I was actually worried about more people playing Dark World and Fire King for this tournament, because those decks performed pretty successfully in the recent tournament. And I think against those matchups specifically, Dimensional Prison is more impactful than Mirror Force. But I still want to keep 1 Mirror Force in a deck for the psychological jump scare, because if my opponents see that I have Mirror Force in my list, they are going to play less aggressive and don't go all in, because they might play into Mirror Force and lose their entire board against Mirror Force. Yeah, and then some tech cards like Double Mind Crush, which is still pretty solid against majority of the matchups, and 1 Dust Tornado is my personal tech choice. As I said previously, I think Dust Tornado is really solid in this format. It can hit both engine and non-engine in this format, and it can also help me to get into the chain link 3 that I need for the chain summoning. So Dust Tornado is my 41st card that I decided to include in the main deck. So I was on 40 cards before, but then I decided I want to have slightly more non-engine compared to the engine, and I was always side decking Dust Tornado against the majority of the decks, therefore removing 1 Dust Tornado from my side deck and putting it into my main deck. So I have more slots in my side deck. In my side deck, I also played double DD Crow and double Maxi because I was worried about Fire King and Dark World, therefore the double D Crow instead of the third Maxi, then 1 D-Fisher, double Blackhorn, and then deck Devastation Virus. This one is also a bit spicy, however I realized in Meadowlands format the deck Devastation Virus can be really devastating against Mermail, and it also hits Geargia in this format. And this deck can take advantage of the deck Devastation Virus because we go into King of the Pharaoh Imps majority of the times, and even if we lose our own King of the Pharaoh Imps to Black Horn of Heaven from the opponent, we still have the Black Ship of Corn, a second deck Devastation target in the extra deck. And this deck can make those extra deck monsters super easily, so no problem at all. And then Deep Dark Trap Hole against Fire King, Dark World, Dragon Ruler, Mermail, and we can search this one out with Trapex from Leo. A second Deep Prison also against those decks. The second Dust Tornado. I still want to play a 1-1 split between those cards because in some matchups like Spellbook it's important to see the Dust Tornado. However, it's also important that you have guaranteed the negation against the traps from the opponent, and thus Tornado can only snipe back rows randomly, while 7 Tools of the Bandit allows me to negate any trap from the opponent, including counter traps, and I don't have to gamble with Dust Tornado on hitting the correct card in the back row before I commit into place. So I can be very safe when I commit into my own place, and then if my opponent hits me with Torrential or Warning, I have the 7 Tools of the Bandit to negate it. And then 1 Macro, 1 Soul Drain. Yeah, these are basically floodgates you need to play against some other decks, and overall this deck worked amazing. So even though I bricked a couple of times, I was still able to win games where I bricked because I was able to stall out the game for a couple turns, and then I drew into my gadget engine. And then with the gadget engine and chain summoning, I instant won the game on the spot. But also just grinding with the gadgets and just interrupting the plays of the opponent with the traps is a solid game plan, and it worked out pretty well for this tournament. Overall, I hope this was a great showcase of gadgets in firewater format, and I hope you can understand why this deck is successful and overall a pretty solid deck in firewater format. Now let's look into some replays. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm just going to showcase some games that I really liked and not the entire match. Maybe I'll make a separate video in the future covering the entire match. Now let's go into game 2. Here we see Silcha's Ruin against Justice Punch, and Silchas won the first game. That means now Justice Punch can go first in the second game. And in the opening hand we see 2 Onslaught of the Fire Kings, which is really solid going second. Unfortunately, Justice Punch has to go first. And he also drew the Garunix, which is kinda the brick in the deck. And then we have Bottomless, Lance, Torrential. Here we have Malicious, Goblin Zombie, Reinforcement, Book of Life, Mizuki. So just set 3 pass. Then Road R, grabbing Dark Grapher. And then Dark Grapher, special summoning by discarding the Malicious from the hand. And now discard the Goblin Zombie, send the Plague Spreader Zombie. Normal summon Mizuki gets hit with the Bottomless Trap Hole. Yeah, I think it's fair to hit the zombie player with the Bottomless Trap Hole here because we get rid of the Mizuki forever and now the opponent can't make Exciton anymore. Okay, so they just had the option to go Plague Spreader Zombie, Mizuki, make the Stardust Dragon before going into the battle phase. However, this would play into Torrential Tribute, and Justice Punch has the Torrential Tribute in the back row. So just set 2 pass. Alright, now Onslaught. Summoning the Yaksha. And then Yaksha attacking over the Grapher. Set 1 pass. In the end phase Yaksha dies and we can destroy the Garunix in the hand. In the standby phase, Garunix special summon itself back. And now we filled the graveyard with 1 200 body and got rid of the Garunix in the hand. Now top deck Mizuki. Book of Life. Banish the Yaksha. Bring back Goblin Zombie. Okay. And then it's time for an XYZ summon. We make the Silent Honor Arc. Gets hit with the Compulse. Now Malicious. And then Mizuki. Special summon the Plague Spreader Zombie. Gets hit with Torrential. And now the Garunix got destroyed by a card effect. Therefore we get back the Garunix in the next standby phase. And then attacking with the Garunix. Set 1 pass. Now Allure of Darkness. And Silchas decides to go for the Plague Spreader Zombie, stacking the Allure of Darkness. And then Call, bringing back the Goblin Zombie. Okay. And now we go Vulcan the Divine, which can bounce back the Call, and also the Garunix from the opponent. But we get hit with the Generation Shift, so Justice Punch is able to dodge the Vulcan. So Generation Shift resolves. And now Garunix comes back in the next standby phase. But Silchas brings out the second Malicious. Now M7 bounce back the Garunix that was destroyed by a card effect. And now it's in the hand and the opponent can't summon the Garunix that was previously destroyed by a card effect. Such a cool play. And now Onslaught can bring out the Yaksha. Yeah, kinda unfortunate that Justice Punch had a second Onslaught here. And now with the Onslaught we can reactivate the Garunix from our hand. And now Tanky, Bear pop the M7, attack directly, attack with the Yaksha. And if we get hit with Mirror Force, we can activate the Garunix in the hand with the Yaksha. So Tanky, and then in the end phase, pop the Garunix in the hand. And in the standby phase, Justice Punch gets back the Garunix. Garunix has to destroy the Bear. And then Call into Goblin Zombie. Normal summon Plague Spreader Zombie. here is where Syl just realized there is no second Vulcan in the extra deck. So we have to go into HTS Psychomorph. Search the Mizuki, and Mizuki works pretty well with the Wing Blast, and for some reason he decides to not attack into the Psychomorph because he might be worried about some trap like Mirror Force, Dimensional Prison, I don't know. Anyways, Tanky grabbing the Wolfbark. And now bring a bear, make the Silent Owner arc. Gets hit with the Phoenix Wing Blast, but Justice Punch has the lens. And we see Fire King winning. So Silchas lost this game despite playing pretty well, but won the match later. However, this combination was just absurd. So Vulcan bounced the Garonix, and then after the Garonix got destroyed by Generation Shift, we add back the Garonix from the graveyard to the hand of the opponent with the M7. Absolutely absurd and such a nice play. Now, let's go into the second replay. Here we have Shadow the Hedgehog versus Small Rose, and Shadow won the first game. Now let's go straight into the second game, because this one is really interesting. Shadow won, that means Small Rose can decide to go first, and in the opening hand we see Junction Croon, 1/1, Quick Draw, Maxi, Gorse, Quick Draw. And here we have Inashishi, Instant Fusion, Iron Call, Ninishi and Maxi. So Small Rose decides to pass. Yeah, not that many plays with this hand. That means Shadow can now combo. So we normal summon Ninishi, and then we have a second normal summon for a Karakuri monster. Now we normal summon this one. And Small Rose decides to drop the Maxi. So we can at least get one draw. And I think she really needs some draws with the Maxi. Now Shadow adding another Karakuri monster with the cash charge. And then making the Naturia Beast. Not attacking, I think he saw the Gorse in the first game, therefore deciding to play around Gorse in this game, which kinda pays off for him here in this game state because she has the Gorse in the hand. And now we discard the Level Eater for the Quick Draw Synchron. The normal summon Junk Synchron gets hit with the Maxi. And then making Hyper Librarian. Now in the battle phase, attacking over Naturia Beast. And then pass. Now normal summon Ninishi, second normal summon Saison. And then instant fusion, summoning the Cybersaurus. And then Buraido. We draw from the Hyper Librarian. And now Shadow can summon a Karakuri monster from the deck. So we summon the level 4 guy. And then we make a second Buraido. Now second draw from the Hyper Librarian, and now we go into Kuik, and Kuik can attack over the Quick Draw Synchron and special summon a Karakuri from the graveyard. Then attacking over with the Buraido, attacking directly, and now this time Shadow gets hit with the Gorse. But he has protection because we have a bunch of bodies on the board. And then he decides to Synchro Summon into Bure, okay. Now Bure, summon out the Nishipashi, and the Nishipashi effect to change battle position. We get 2 draws, and then make Leo, which is bigger than Gorse and the token, and then we make a Felgrant as additional negate, set 3 pass. So overall pretty solid position, and we have the Maxi on top. But Small Rose has a really solid hand. Now we start with tuning, search the Unknown Synchron, mill the Foolish Burial, then 1/1. Get hit with the Maxi. Now Level Eater. Now the question is, does Small Rose commit into a big combo, or do we just pass? And she decides to go into a combo. So Junk Synchron, special summon back the Unknown Synchron. And then Synchro summon into Formula Synchron. Draw 1 card, drawing into charge. Charge mill 3, add another Raikou. Yeah, Raikou. And then Synchro Summon into Leo. Now Leo is actually a threat for Shadow because Leo can attack over the Felgrad, and then Shadow probably has to crash his own Leo to get rid of the Leo. Therefore we decide to hit the Leo with the Bottomless Trap Hole, but now it's time for the Quick Draw Synchron. So discard Raikou, special summon, then Level Eater. And now we have a level 4 Quick Draw Synchron. Level Eater again. And now here is where Shadow is thinking. And he decides to hit the token with the compulse, so we get rid of the monster forever. Anyways, Small Rose can summon the Junk Warrior. Now we get the Junk Warrior effect, it's chaining 1 because it's a mandatory effect, and Shadow has to negate it with the Flagrant, otherwise the Junk Warrior could just attack over the Flagrant. Second Quick Draw Synchron, discarding the Raikou, Level Eater, then making the Drill Warrior, okay, Level Eater, now
Limit over Excel Synchro! The evolution of light! Shooting Quasar Dragon!
Synchro Summon Shooting Quasar Dragon, the ultimate 5D boss monster. Oh yeah, we gotta love to see it. So Shooting Quasar Dragon hits the field, can attack over the Flagrant, can attack over the Leo. But the main problem is, even though this is a super powerful boss monster, Shadow got so many cards from the maxi, so he might be able to break this board. So he decides to start with the Solar Wind Gemma. It's basically a free special summon. Then normal summon, Iron Call. Bring back the Karakuri, which gives the second normal summon. And then we synchro summon into Bure. Now Bure can special summon from the deck. And we special summon this one. Then change the battle position of the Level Eater. Now emergency teleport. Special summon the Psychic Commander. And then make Scrap Dragon threatening to pop the Shooting Quasar Dragon, and now a Small Rose has to negate this one, otherwise we lose the Shooting Quasar Dragon. However, Shadow has the Forbidden Chalice. This is kinda rough. Now Chalice can negate the negate from the Shooting Quasar Dragon, and Scrap Dragon resolves. Now Shooting Quasar Dragon floats! Oh, I completely forgot this one has a float effect. That means the Small Rose gets to summon the Shooting Star Dragon from the extra deck. Okay, this is pretty solid, but Shadow has the Book of Moon. And the Bure can just attack over. Now we attack over the Level Eater and attack with the Scrap Dragon directly. Then set to pass. And now top deck Synchron Explorer. Okay, this could potentially go into Catastro, and then Catastro could deal with the Scrap Dragon. But there is one major problem, and Shadow has the Forbidden Chalice, which can negate the Synchron Explorer. And that's game. So yeah, here we see Shadow winning with the Karakuri against the Synchron. However, we saw the summon of the Shooting Quasar Dragon, which was absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this replay, because I really enjoyed it.